Northern Arizona University's Morton Hall. 224 McCullen Circle, Flagstaff. The near-century-old women's dormitory, on the forested grounds of Northern Arizona University, is said to be haunted by the forlorn spirit of a heartbroken student named Kathy, who supposedly hanged herself in a stairwell during a winter break back in the early 1950s. Depending on who's telling the tale, she was either abandoned by her family or had a boyfriend in the armed forces who died in combat. Over the decades, the alleged apparition has been blamed for a litany of phenomena, including lights flickering, radios and televisions malfunctioning, posters flying off the walls, and blankets being pulled off beds. Birdcage Theater. 535 East Allen Street, Tombstone. The rough and ready city of Tombstone may have been the town that was too tough to die, but its inhabitants over the past 140 years or so haven't been as lucky. Plenty of folks have shuffled loose the mortal coil since it was first settled in 1877, including the participants in the legendary OK Corral shootout and the longtime occupants of the equally renowned Boot Hill Graveyard. The Birdcage Theater, a former saloon, gambling den, and brothel, also saw plenty of bloodshed in its day, as 16 different deadly gunfights took place on the historic property. As such, this former house of ill repute is a hot spot for alleged ghost sightings and encounters with otherworldly beings. Death sentences have been carried out at the Florence Prison since 1910. According to the Arizona Department of Corrections website, roughly 100 inmates have been executed during the past century inside the confines of the state's first husago in Florence, either by hanging, lethal injection, or a trip to the gas chamber. So it shouldn't really come as much of a surprise that there have been more than a few possibly apocryphal yarns spun over the years about both inmates and guards witnessing several instances of mists that looked in human form or having their ears assaulted with screams and other strange sounds in the building that houses the prison's death chamber or the adjacent cell blocks. Where do airplanes go when they die? Depending on their particular model, many obsolete or aging flying machines have wound up at this facility attached to Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson. It's the largest boneyard in the world, and is where the U.S. military has stored or dismantled its retired and out-of-service aircraft since the mid-1940s. A few ghost stories have been spun about the place over the decades, such as phantom World War II fighter pilots roaming the grounds. This funky, two-story bed and breakfast dating back to the early years of the 20th century is a favorite of ghost hunters everywhere due to its bloody history. Per local lore, the former boarding house has been the site of numerous murders stemming from cases of adultery. One particularly grisly tale involves a cop who blew away his cheating wife and her paramour in 1920 before going on to slaughter more than a dozen others throughout the building. Over the years, guests at the Oliver House have reported such unusual occurrences as doors and shutters closing, ghostly footsteps in the hallways, or sounds of gunshots being heard.